So following up for you, electricity and water tariffs will see one of their biggest jumps in recent times starting January next year following the new multi-year tariff review order. Here's more.
Under the current proposal,
Hi, great people of Ghana, it's your Nigerian God pleasure bringing you political news in our channel, Ghanatube. As always, our wonderful channel, always here to give you all the wonderful news your way. And I am always your girl pleasure bringing you this news your way. Please switch.
Tariffs will go up by 9.86%. and water will be adjusted by 15.92%. And all these tariffs are expected to take off from January next year. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission argues that this is part of the multi-year tariff review and is expected to deal with issues of long-term investment needs of these companies, especially when it comes to attracting fresh capital. Of these tariffs follows months of stakeholder engagement with all the players in the industry. The increment is across board and will affect all category of users in the country. The Commission has also revealed that these tariffs remain in force from next year to 2030. Now, despite rolling out this multi-year tariff review, the Commission will also press ahead with the quarterly adjustment into the tariffs. Already, some industry watchers are worried about the impact of this development on the costs of doing business and inflation, which is currently in the single band.
Let's get a reaction from the business community, particularly players in the industry sector. Seth Chubakwa is the Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. He joins us via Zoom. Seth, thank you so much for making time to speak to us on Business Live. How will the increase in tariffs, like you're seeing, affect your business operations and, of course, your bottom line?
Well, thank you very much. It's always a challenge when we have tariff increments, and the reason is that it puts us in a very difficult situation. We are actually torn between the rock and the hard place. Each way is tough for us because on one hand we appreciate that the companies that are generating the power are also companies, and those who are transmitting and distributing, those in the power value chain are companies that must survive, and they must survive by generating revenue which commensurates their cost of operation. So we appreciate it from that angle, that they must adjust once in a while to be able to stay in business. On the other hand, our businesses that are also off-takers of the power and are using the power for their business, their operations, they are also bearing the cost. And that cost impacts on their cost of production, and then it translates into their pricing. If their prices are high, it makes them uncompetitive. So it's always a very difficult situation because either way, we are struggling. Now, for those who are receiving the power and are paying for it, which is largely the industries, SMEs and the rest of the industries, anytime you increase power tariffs, it means additional cost to them. So definitely, since there is an increment, it is a cost to them. This is not to say...
All right, finish up for me.
Yeah, I'm saying it is somehow to be expected that occasionally you must have this kind of adjustment so that the other people, group will also stay in business. So normally it's the quantum of increase that is of a biggest challenge, because if it's too high, then it affects them even more. So that is where we have a challenge.
I see. Are there plans to absorb the increased costs, or will prices be passed on to consumers?
Well, the individual companies will analyze it differently. For those who can absorb, they react differently to this. There are some companies that energy cost constitutes a significant part of their cost of production. It could go as high as 30% in the case of the steel industry because it consumes so much power. In their case, if you have almost 10% increase in tariff levels, naturally they cannot absorb all of it because it means so much cost to them and it impacts heavily on their bottom line. For those that energy costs may not be as significant and therefore they probably can absorb it, they will do so. Remember, even when they are adjusting their prices, it's not proportionate to the changes in the energy cost because there are other elements of the cost that they are taking into account. They also take account of the competition and so on and so forth. So the companies will adjust differently. My other comment on the tariff adjustment is that normally when you have across-board tariff change like that. We get concerned. We get concerned because if we take water, for the big and water consuming companies, their volume of consumption is so high, so that 15% plus adjustment means a lot of cost to them. For some of them, they will even hardly survive.
Right.
So normally what we do is that in such situations, we need to have special arrangement for them. And it's not because we are favoring them. It's also because the cost of service to them is way cheaper in terms of per unit cost of service than the other consumers. So for them, we have to ring-fence them and say, what kind of arrangement can we make? And as an association that is advocating for better business environment, this is something we take up. For those that are highly water-consuming companies, we need to bring them together and discuss with PURC what adjustments can be done to help them. But generally speaking, the principle of occasionally adjusting the tariff levels, we can't say no to it, and we need to absorb it somehow.
Sir Chumakwa, thank you so much for your input this very moment. Grateful speaking to us on Business Live. Now, let's take the Joy Business Van. Ghanaian design brand Tekura continues to win global admiration while remaining firmly grounded in authentic local craftsmanship, a balance that has defined its growth and vision. As the Joy Business Van concludes this feature on the company, Managing Director Audrey Forson reflects on Tekura's 25-year journey and what lies ahead.
2 years after a devastating fire, the flames have died down. The real work has begun. The fire may have reduced Tekura's workshop to rubble, but it could not extinguish the spirit behind it.
It's been a tough 1 year and about 1.5 years. It's been really tough trying to take it a day at a time. Money was obviously a challenge because to go a year without income in Ghana is something else. Yeah, but we managed to survive with the very little that we had.
We returned to the heart of a company determined to rebuild not just structures, but confidence, creativity, and a legacy nearly lost.
It's work in progress. We're still in the process of, we're not 100% on our feet, but let's say we're probably like 70 or 80%. My parents will tell you that in times of despair, you pray, right? And for me, I've had to do a lot more of that in 2024 than my entire life, because the future was, I wouldn't say uncertain. It was clear there was no future, right? Because everything you believed in was in flames or had become ashes. So I took some time off. I just took some time to stay at home and do a lot of reflection and thinking. We literally went through those steps of doing some kind of inventory checklist and going through what we have and what we don't have, getting a sense of where we were, and then started replanning, reprojecting, reaching out to people and like people in industry, institutions in industry, putting together a plan. So an immediate plan, a short-term plan, a mid to long-term plan. We had to sit down. Fortunately, my management, another backbone for me, came together. We came together to do all of these things and have a sort of a strategy from short to long term on how we could get back on our feet.
Any lessons learned from that experience?
Absolutely, 1,001 lessons, but I will probably focus on a few. So one thing I learned, and I probably say, is that I came to the realization that the brand we're selling or promoting was not a physical one. Having gone through this journey made me realize Tekura is not limited to the tables and the stools and the machines, but it's the spirit inside us, is the passion inside us, is the faith the artisans had in me, is the dependence I could have on my management. So it's more intangible than I initially thought.
From reimagining their designs to restoring their production line piece by piece, this is a story of Tekura's second beginning, a journey of resilience, and a remarkable people who refuse to let the fire be the fire.
Please do well to like, comment, and follow. Put your notification bell so you get all our news one by one. Thanks, my people.